Alrighty, so I'm gonna make this video, and this video is gonna be slightly different than the way I do the rest of them. Meaning that I'm gonna kind of walk you through the thought process that I use to go through all this, as opposed to getting directly to the answer to each one of the questions that you gave me. So this will give you a little bit of background, not only on WordPress. It will not only give you the answer for the questions that you gave me, but it will also kind of clue you into the thought process of trying to find out where to figure out where the answer comes from. So it's kind of weird. It's takes a little bit of Sherlock Holming, but with all that said and done, the first thing that you asked was you wanted to be able to you wanted to be able to add the composites to the navigation system. So here's what I do. First, I log into the WordPress dashboard, and then what I generally do is I'll hover my mouse here, and I will either middle click, because I use the mouse wheel, middle click, and open up a new tab, so that not only can I have the website up, um, I can have the WordPress dashboard up, so it allows me to go back and forth so I can see the changes that I'm making in somewhat real time. I can refresh this and see what's going on. So right now I have three open. I have the dashboard, I have pages open, and I have this open. You can have as many open as you want. Just remember that in some cases, when you have WordPress and you are logged into the account, let's say I'm logged into here and I'm looking at it in the same browser, because the website is embedding cookies, you may not see everything as your visitors would see it in real time. So that can be a downside, but really the easiest way to do that is to just open up um, the website, or use a different browser. You can use Chrome or Firefox, because the cookie won't be linked to that browser. Or with Chrome, you can actually open up what they call incognito mode, and you would actually see it look like this, where sorry, let me see if I can get it to be a little bit smaller. You'll see the icon there of this, and there's it looks kind of like somebody spying, but it is preventing the ability for the cookies and whatnot to be saved, so you would actually look at it in real time. So I could actually have these three tabs open, plus this in a second window, and be able to see the website as I want to see it, as my visitors are seeing it. So with all that said, I'm now in the dashboard, and we're gonna do the navigation system. So that's this here. This is known as a navigation system, menu system. So really, it's kind of easy, especially with the newer versions of WordPress. The older versions of WordPress, you had to do it with the older methodology, which you had to number things. I'll show you how that works. But one of the first things you're going to want to do is go through your dashboard and look at the tools and the categories that you have. So you have home, and under home you have updates and Kismet settings, counterize, post, media. Some of these are not here by default with WordPress. With WordPress, you'll have home, post, media, pages, comments, appearance, plugins, users, tools, settings, and that's pretty much it. The rest of these here are either added because of plugins or because of the theme itself. Some of the plugins do add in their own options. So by going through each one of these, you're going to see that there's submenus and items that you can work with in here. Now, if you hover your mouse above appearance, you can see it says menus. So let's go ahead and click on that. And with WordPress 3 goodness, I think it was 3.1 or 2, as of then, you were able to manage your navigation system in two different methodologies. This is the easiest and most popular one. Once you're in menus, and I know this looks a little bit out of sorts, you're probably not going to understand things, but if you break everything down that you see on the page into different categories, you'll be just fine. So the first thing you're going to see is theme locations, primary navigation. You can save multiple navigation items. See, this one is called original. If we wanted to, we can make another one, and we'll just call this test. Create menu, and you can notice this is here, but test doesn't have anything assigned to it. And the reason is because, let's say we only wanted these three items to be on the page. You could simply just add them into here by using one of these items down here. So for example, go to pages, and generally we'll select view all, because we want to um, just make a quick test here. So we'll go to add to menu, We'll wait for this to finish loading, and boom, this is going to pop up here. If we hit Save Menu, and we refresh this page. Okay, and it seems that if you do make any changes and it doesn't pop up the way that you want it to, this is where the next train of thought starts coming in. Okay, something else is controlling the menu system. So we have this here. What you do need to double check, and one thing I didn't double check was primary navigation. We now need to change to test. We'll click save. So we'll refresh again, and voila, we got rid of them. So, and that doesn't mean that it destroys the menu. It just merely changes it out to the other one. So you click save, move back to original, and all the items should come back. Perfect. So we'll go back over to here, and this is here. Click save menu, and it's fine. You don't need to do all that, but that's the one you're working within. Let's say you want to remove it because we don't need it anymore. Just click on it, click delete menu, and voila, you have this. So the next thing you need to know about this is pages. Any of the pages that you create, create all new pages, and each one of these are considered a page. So right here, this is considered a home page. That are addable through here. You can add it into here. Categories, if you were to use this kind of like a blog-ish kind of page, and it's not to say that posts and categories are for blogs only. They're more for dynamic content. So if you wanted to not have to go in and change the whole page in order to add something to the page, that's what category and posts are for. So we'll get into that a little bit later if you need to. But you'll be able to do it the same way. Custom links, those are a little bit different. Those are for external links. So if we wanted to, let's say, CNN, and we'll label this as CNN, or let's try news. Add to menu. Boom, that's there, and it says custom. Now, mind you, if you start tinkering with it, I remember the conversation that we had on the phone. You go through this, you'll start figuring things out slowly but surely. But you can open these up to see what other things you can add to it, a title attribute or anything like that. Those items are there and readily at your disposal. As well as also keep in mind, if you go to screen options, you can add these in here to allow you a little bit more control. So, and what this allows is a more flexible control over the menu system. But with that said, click Save Menu, and we're just going to wait for this to refresh. Boom. Now remember, we didn't link it to a page, we linked it to a custom link. If we hover our mouse above this, news, and you see in the lower left-hand corner here, watch that, it says CNN. If we click on that, boom, there we go. So let's go back to the site, and if we want to remove this, same deal. Open it up, click remove. Now let's say we wanted this to be in a different spot. Click and drag, simple, because your cursor turns into a four-way cursor, that means you can move it around. So if you move it there, all of these in line mean that they're parent items. However, if let's say we wanted a submenu item, do that. This brings this item out of sync with the rest of these and makes it a child of the one above it. So this is a parent, this is a child, otherwise known as a top-level menu system, submenu. This is a submenu or submenu item. If we click Save Menu, what we should see is that this is going to have a submenu item if we did it correctly. So this refreshed. So let's go ahead and refresh the page. And we notice that none of these have one. But there that is. If we click on it, yep, takes us back. So that's the menu system. And yes, you can actually add a child of a parent. So that's totally fine. That's totally up to you. All you have to do is just click and drag. Just mind the dots in the back. And you can go from there. If you had it like this, unless you want to move these down, you can just grab it as a block. It's completely and totally up to you. We go ahead and remove it. Click Save Menu. So we'll wait for this to refresh. Now, right now, it's like this. But if we click refresh, because we saved it, not any there anymore. So that works like that. And these only appear here because they're actually created pages. Custom links are basically external items, things that go to someplace externally. So there's that for you, and it's really simple. Um, I'll go over the second methodology that's used, or the original methodology, but I would really highly recommend not doing it that way because it can become confusing really quick. So if you go to a page, we're on home page attributes. There is no parent of this page. This is a parent page. Order. If, let's say, you didn't use the menu system, let's say that whole thing was empty, this would take over. And it would go in order from 0 on up. So 0 would be the first item, 1 would be the next. So, for example, this would be 0, this would be 1, this would be 2, this would be 3, this would be 4, this would be 5, this would be 6. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So really, whatever the first number is, will show up that way. If, let's say, we call all of these ones, it would go in published or created date. So whichever item was first to be published is which is going to be the item that shows up there first. So yeah, I recommend staying away from that one because it's not simplistic. It's not as intuitive as doing it this way. Using a graphical interface is by far the easiest way. Let's see, the second question you had. The please visit our sister site is a logo. It is an image, and we want to be able to change this out. Okay, so the first thing I did was I went to the home page and said, okay. Well, actually, the first thing I did was, I started to do this with you over the phone, is I went over to theme options, and the reason I kind of left it out is because I already went over it with you, but I'll do it again. The theme options, and I'll go over the themes real quick, so just before I get to that. If we go to themes, WordPress by default, now that it's 3.9.1, comes with 2014, 2013, 2012, and they're going to be these. What it looks like happened is you had a developer who used a theme and customized the theme here, and you have this one selected. Now let's say if we were to change out to a different theme, the layout would change. The content won't go anywhere, but the layout will change. But there is a minor caveat to that. It's not like you go and grab a new theme and throw it in here, and I'll explain that why you should be careful with choosing new themes. But if you were to take a theme that's compatible with this and throw it in here, shortcodes will be different, layouts will be different across themes, so the content may not even show up properly on the page because this is considered a widgetized area. This may be done via a shortcode. This may be done via shortcode, and this is just a centering of the text on the page. Um, let's say the theme that you put in doesn't use the same shortcode. This is going to throw all of this out of whack. So you definitely want to be careful with changing out the themes. Not say you can't, just be careful with it. But right now we know that this is the theme for this. You'll see which version of the theme it is right here. In the newer versions of WordPress, if you hover your mouse above the theme, it's going to say theme details. The version number is actually going to be inside of there. This will tell you what options you have for it. Some themes don't come with theme options, and actually some of them, it won't be under appearance. Maybe its own item in here. So do look for what the theme is going to give you and how to access it. So now that we know that theme options here, we'll go into theme options. So I was looking for this image here, and so one of the first things I wanted to do was you want to go through here and look and see what options the theme gives you. In some cases, the theme will give you control over certain elements like logos and things like that. So let's go ahead and look through here. There's the header, and the header would be anything above the body. So menu system, slider up here. Don't see anything there. Navigation menu. That's the system, this section right here. So show items, home captions, home, posts, Featured image. So we don't see anything as of yet for a logo. And this right here is actually what's going to lead into one of the questions that you had next. I'll go ahead and tackle that real quick for you. Um, you said that the footer was 2007. If you look in here, boom, there it is right there. So you just change that. You notice it says RSS and everything is down there. So that's how you would actually change this right there. It's really, really simple. Just make sure anytime you make any changes, you click Save Changes. You need to tell WordPress to um, update the pages, update the code. So there is nothing in here about logo, page control, comments, footer, advertisement, nothing else in there. So my next thing was, all right, well, it might be within the page. It might just be an image that's on the sidebar. We're in here, and this is the body. So sure enough, no, FLGS, 2 images, and then that. So that's this. So this is completely different. So we'll look on the page. Theme options, show menu, show title on page, left sidebar. What does that mean? More than likely, that's going to mean that that's in your widgets area. Anytime you have a sidebar, left sidebar, right sidebar, footer, or header, there are what they call widget areas for it. So we'll go to widgets. Primary widget area. Text. And there you go. That image here was put in via HTML code. So just to double check, what we'll do is we'll just copy this and we'll open up a new one and we'll throw that in there. And voila, that is indeed that. So yep, we found it. It is here. If you wanted to change it, if you say you're familiar with code, great. Then you go ahead and know how to deal with hrefs and calling to sources. If you're not, or you're a little bit rusty, leave this alone. Okay. What you're going to want to change, since it's just the image source that you're going to change, is just this. How are you going to do that? Okay, that's a good question. I'll show you how to do that real quick. Go to Media, go to Add New, and when you're in Add New, especially if you're using Chrome, you can just drag and drop into the area in order for it to start the upload. However, let's say we did upload something, it's already in the library. We'll go to Library, and then let's say just for argument's sake, this is the image that we put in. This is what you need, the URL. So once you upload it, just copy and paste this URL into that widgetized area. And boom, you're good with that. Okay, so I showed you that. And your other question was about the updating the footer for the copyright 2014. So once again, go through not only your dashboard, but go through the theme options. Get very familiar with this. One of the other things you also want to do is make sure that you have a really good backup going of your site. Another thing you want to also know is that these right here are telling you you'll have notations. So WordPress has any updates, that'll let you know that there's 15 comments. There's 6 comments that you would have to go and administrate. Your plugins says you have 12 plugins that need to be updated. Before doing an update, you want to make sure that your theme will handle any of the updates, because if you update one of these and let's say it is no longer 3.5 compatible, and just to remember, show you how to find which version of WordPress you're using, go to Home, but you want to make sure like it says using 3.5.2. If you click on plugins and you go into plugins, it'll tell you which plugins are looking for an update by the ones below. So like this one, it's not looking for an update. This one is. If you update and let's say it's no longer 3.5.2 compatible, let's say it's only 3.6 and up, you could potentially break the site. The best way to back up your website would be via FTP and going in via MySQL. So what you're going to want to do is go and get a program like FileZilla, and you're going to want to go into your control panel, get the FTP settings. Once you're in your, once you've got those settings, you're going to connect. You're going to basically copy your entire file directory, the file manager. Pull everything onto your desktop, compress it, keep it in a folder. Call it backups or something. The next place you're going to want to go into is MySQL. Once you're in there, you're going to want to look for the database, and we can go over that if you really need to. I'm just saying if you happen to know it, then you can go ahead and just pause or close at this part. But once you're in there, you're going to want to select the database name that this WordPress installation is installed to, and then go to Manage Backups. Once you're in there, make sure you still have that database highlighted. You're then going to, on the right-hand side, click Backup. Download now. It's going to start creating the backup for you. You refresh the page maybe after 5 or 7 minutes, and it should tell you the status. If it's ready for download, you just click it, you download the entire database, and you're good to go. If you have any further questions, feel free to let me know. The drop shadow for the body, I'm looking into. That's something we would have to do in the CSS. The CSS, you would actually control or affect in here. I'll show you that really, really quickly. I still have to tinker with the CSS to make sure it'll take. But appearance, and you go to editor. And just make sure that the current theme that you're using is selected here, and that you are using the style sheet. And this is all CSS here. Once again, I'm hoping that you know it or remember it. If you don't, go ahead and brush up on it. But you just add your code there. Or, in some cases, some themes, they totally bypass this, and they control it through their own theme. And I believe I did see that in here. That's the advertisement. Okay, so it's not in here. This is just for advertisement. So yes, you will have to do it within the editor. And I'll go ahead and send you the code on that. But like I said, we don't teach code. So once I send you the code on that, you should be good to go. If you have any further questions, feel free to let me know. Thanks.